Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the official episode 1 of the Regulars podcast. My name is Joe Hansen. I am one of your 4 or potentially 3, at least tonight, hosts here in the Regulars. I am joined, as always, by my close personal friends, Ryan Tibbetts.
That's right.
And Trenton Gauthier.
Of course. Hello, everyone. Hello, all of our adoring fans.
Nikki.
Welcome to our fan. Well,
so Joe, I see on the list here we got how we feeling.
Yes.
So let's go around. How are we feeling on this great? What is today? Monday night.
Well, I am pretty tired. Did not sleep too well over the weekend, but we had some fun. So some of which we'll get into here tonight.
Tibbs, how you feeling?
We're living for a Monday. It's been a grueling packing 2 days for me, Sunday and Monday, packing and getting ready for the big Woodbury move. But I'm happy to be with you guys.
Yeah, but you got to be feeling like tired, but also really excited, right? Like that's definitely a huge, exciting thing, right?
Well, I keep telling people I'm excited to be moved in, but the moving part, not bringing much excitement.
But you said, and I think I recall in a conversation we had, you're not moving necessarily like the traditional, moving a bunch of furniture and all that kind of stuff. So at least from that perspective, it's nice, right?
Well, if it wasn't for the 14 cans of chicken noodle soup I found and other odds and ends.
Wait. We need, since you can't just say that without explaining, you need to give us some context here.
Yeah, I was cleaning out my cupboards, and I've never been known to have a big supply of groceries on hand. And for whatever reason, I think when I had my wisdom tooth surgeries, that could be a story for another podcast. And then if I'd get a cold or something, I think I would just be like, oh, I need chicken noodle soup. And apparently I didn't need it because when I was cleaning out my cupboards, I had it was 12 cans. There was a clam chowder, chicken wild rice, and then 10 variations of chicken noodle soup.
I can't even. It doesn't even sound like it. It sounds like far-fetched, like you're making it up.
No, I definitely believe that.
That's my life.
I had so much. I had so much broth and stuff after my surgery where I had to be on a liquid diet. I had to just start finding recipes that would try to make use of chicken broth.
Now I do got to ask Tibbs. Were they all still good? Could you still, or had you had them for so long?
I threw them all out. I can't tell you. I wasn't making myself then 14 cans of soup this week.
just throw it all in one big pot and see what happens.
Yes. It is funny you said that though, because Carmen and I were going through we were just putting away some groceries the other day, and that exact situation happened where we all of a sudden were like, why do we have this random can of soup? It was like a Campbell's chunky soup, and we opened it and we looked it up, and we must have brought it from South Carolina where we moved from, and I think it was literally was supposed to be eaten in June or July of 2021. Well, it was just sitting in there. We just hadn't touched it.
I feel like that's far worse than mine because you actually brought it from South Carolina to Minnesota. I'm at least chunking them. You were like, oh, this needs to make the cut for the move.
Maybe they thought there might be an emergency where they had to throw it together on the road.
Yeah.
You never know when you make that first move, where your first meals are going to come from, So, and you don't want to eat out all the time. And apparently that just was on the bottom of the packing of the kitchen box, and we just never looked at it.
Well, after helping you move, you guys literally brought the state of South Carolina with you. I mean, that U-Haul was jam-packed. So
yeah, you definitely earned it. It's funny though, because now you're moving, and I was like, all right, whenever Tibbs moves, I'm helping him move. And then you're like, well, we hired a moving company for the big furniture, and then I don't have a ton of stuff. So, and I'm like, where's favor going to come?
No, I'm not going to owe you because me helping you move was my favor back to you. So I'm not about to owe you again.
Okay. I guess we'll make it,
I'm
even.
ready
But
for you
I don't know.
guys
In the back of my
I'm
mind,
ready to owe you guys and make you help me move stuff because I'm only moving upstairs when I move. So
that'll make sense. Yeah, that'll be fun though. That'll be a fun move. It won't be like a terrible moving. I don't know. I feel like moving within the same building won't be necessarily as bad as like moving from a different city or
well,
something.
not as bad as a different state, I bet.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
speaking of a guy who knows moves, we got Blake Johnson listening, and I know that guy had a wild move from Wisconsin to Seattle. So his might have been crazier than your South Carolina journey, Trenton.
Oh
So
no,
shut up.
we always love hearing Blake's stories, and I actually think I would love to hear a little bit of an excerpt of the Blake move if you have it, Tibbs.
Can we put him on here to even tell it for a minute? And then
If he
If he
wants,
if he
yeah,
wants to,
yeah,
he can request up
we'll
to
invite him.
Blake.
Blake request. You got to hear a little bit about this.
I'm just gonna hit him with the invite. This is why we're doing spaces so we can have run-ins.
I think this would be just a couple minutes, then we can bump him back to listener.
Oh, he's muted.
Hey, can you hear me?
Welcome.
Blake.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Our first guest
First
appearance.
Wow.
guest, episode 1.
I am honored.
We were just talking about moving, and I know that you had a wild move. I was wondering if you could tell a little better than me, but then we'll bump you back to
Yeah,
listener.
I moved to Portland, bud, not Seattle.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
it's all the same to me.
but yeah. Anyway, though, yeah, we all after the year of COVID of being stuck in Minnesota, finally got a job offer. So within a week and a half, we packed all our stuff up and moved off across the country, rent to Airbnb for 2 weeks, and then found a place. And yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Wasn't it you and your mom in a U-Haul, and then
Yeah, it was
Alex and the cat in
it was
another
me
car?
and Alex in her car, and then we had our dog Odessa, who's a lab, and then our cat with us in the litter box, and then the U-Haul was my little brother and my mom, and we had that thing literally packed to the brim. You could not fit anything else in that thing, not even a extra cup in that U-Haul. Then we also filled up my car, which was on a dolly behind it, dragging, and we had to drive this all the way through the mountains and everything. And oh my god, yeah, it was a 2-day drive, and then we finally ended up over here in Portland on a super stormy, rainy night, and then finally at 2 a.m. got into the Airbnb we're staying at. So yeah, it was quite an adventure.
I cannot imagine just the anxiety that is like. And Tibbs talks about having just like anxious moments. That sounds like an entire anxious trip of just madness through the mountains. Like you were probably white knuckling all the way through the mountains. That sounds insane.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Blake.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
An old college roommate and former college radio co-host with me, Blake Johnson.
Thank you.
What's our next topic here, boys?
I think the next topic it was actually Austin's topic. If you guys want, we can dive into Austin's topic, or we can move on. What do you guys think?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Do we if anyone didn't listen to episode 0 of our podcast, our pilot episode last week, some idiot who was controlling the main account closed out of it, and we lost our feed before the end, so we missed Austin's great topic. But now Austin's not even here, so do we want to save it and maybe he'll run in at the end, or do we want to get to it? What do you guys say?
I say we hold it, and then we'll still talk about it at the end if he doesn't make it, though, and then he'll have to come up with a new topic if he doesn't show up by the end.
Yeah, I think we could hold it, and then because you have a really fun one, Trenton, that I would love to jump into as well.
Yeah, we can hop right into it if you guys are ready to go.
Let's do it.
Ready.
So here's the laydown, or the lowdown of the question or of the topic. So basically, I thought of this random idea. I was actually in a random conversation with I think it was with Carmen the other day, and I was like joking around about like, hey, if there was an apocalypse, and let's just in this example, let's not care about the type of apocalypse. It could be a zombie apocalypse. It could be a meteor hit the earth apocalypse. It could be whatever kind of apocalypse you want to use in your example or your thought process with this. But the question is, who is one person that you know in your life? So it has to be somebody like that, not like a fictional person or a celebrity that you've never met. It can't be somebody like that. It has to be somebody that you know in your life that you would team up with and or get in contact with first in an apocalypse. Like I said, the type of apocalypse is not relevant. Is to have to apply to all. So you can't like change. You have to like pick one person. You have to think of attributes of the person, their smarts, their access to resources, what they have at their house, if they have weapons, if you need weapons, or if they have gear or land or whatever you might need with that person. So that's the question. I already know my answer because it's pretty easy for me, but I'll open it up to the floor. Joe or Tibbs, what do you guys think is the person that you think of first potentially?
Well, I would say, first of all, as much as I love you guys, I don't know that.
Wow.
I think that we all share a certain skill set. We are not great outdoorsmen.
No, we are not.
So I don't know that either of you would be ones that I would turn to. And actually, you guys both know probably the one that I would go with, which is my close personal friend Logan Fredrickson.
Yes, that makes sense.
Because he has the outdoor skills that I don't have. He owns guns. He has some degree of interest and knowledge about like prepping and doing things for that. So I definitely feel like he would be the kind of person I would want to kind of latch on to, like the barnacle of life, and hope that he can help lead us to some survival.
And Logan looks built for the not pandemic, sorry, the apocalypse. he's built for COVID. No, he's built for the apocalypse. I mean, he's got the big beard. He looks kind of like a lumberjack. Like he's the kind of guy you would cast in a movie about an apocalypse. I feel like. I mean, just an amazing choice.
I also feel like he's not a person that where you have to worry about like being with people. Like you could go be with just Logan and you're going to be able to be fine. Like you're not going to have to worry about him wanting to get connected with more people. You can keep the risk very low and just be like, it's me and Logan just going against the world.
Yeah, you'll be entertained. I mean, the guy, he lives with the dial-up phone already, so he's
Oh yeah, the flip phone.
the dial-up phone there. So I think that life would be good. He's a great storyteller.
All right, Tibbs, your turn. I'll go
So
last.
I just want to say I do have to echo Joe's thoughts. I mean, I actually told you guys about this, but I had a dream where Joe and Trenton, this is no joke, were in some sort of a apocalypse situation in a nightmare I was having, and they came over asking if they could siphon gas from me, and they're kind of in a panic. But I know real Tibbs wouldn't do this, but Dreams Tibbs was like, nah, I've only have enough gas in my car for the rest of the work week. So for some reason, I'm still working in an apocalyptic setting.
Well, somebody's got to work,
Someone's got to pay the cell phone bills and the regular bills of the apocalypse.
And I turned you guys down. But if it was apocalypse similar to Joe, or not many people know this name, but his name's Jared Weisenbeck, college roommate of mine, grew up on a farm, so I think that we'd be able to maybe hop on his farm, and at least for a little bit, we'd have some cows and that sort of thing that we'd be able to kill off for meat. And he's got all kinds of guns. He's very handy man in our college house. Whenever we would get into drunk college shenanigans and break something in the house, he's the one who fixed it and made sure we got our security deposit back. So just a guy that you can count on. And I think that I'd be able to survive. I survived college thanks to Jared. I think I could survive a little bit into the apocalypse with him.
Now you're saying the words "little bit." Would you? Is this a long term? Like you're saying "little bit."
I know that I would never survive long in an apocalypse. I'm not built for it in any way. So no matter how good Jared is, I think he would even have to maybe cut some weight and get rid of me at some point. But
that's hilarious. Oh my god!
Yeah, at some point, once Logan was telling me, he's got a wife to think of, and he tells me, it's time for me to go, I would have to say I don't blame them for cutting bait at some point.
All right. As soon as I'll say mine, but I have a follow up question. Hopefully, I remember what my follow up question is. But mine is my dad. It's kind of an easy answer because my dad is kind of already in a way a conspiracy theorist. So he's already kind of like thinking ahead as far as the logic of like what would I do. And my dad, and I'm not even kidding when I say this, my dad has already told me in my life. I don't know when he's told me. It might have been like when I was in high school or college. I don't remember. But he literally like explicitly told me, like he was like, if anything ever happens, like the world's ending, he's like, you come here, you come home, and you'll be fine. We'll make it work. And I was like, all right. And from that moment on, I never knew when I would have to answer this question. Whenever this podcast topic would come up, but I had the answer ready to go all the time, this whole time.
That's amazing. That a young 5-year-old Trenton. All right, Trenton, when you leave, just make sure you come home. If there's an apocalypse, I will protect you.
Yeah. And it makes sense.
One question: what's an apocalypse?
Right, exactly. My dad has weapons. He has things to protect us. We also have a good amount of land that's nearby. And I also thought about this when it comes to now that the hardest part in this, and I was thinking about this, is all right, well, if the apocalypse happens right now, we are where we are, right? So you're potentially hours away. Like Joe, with your example with Logan, Duluth's a couple hours away. Tibbs, I don't know where Jared is, but that he might be potentially a little bit of ways.
Small town, Durant, Wisconsin.
So yeah, that's probably a couple hours away, and then same with me, like 3.5, 4 hours away. So that's already a main problem. You better hope you have gas because if in the apocalypse, gas is probably already gone.
That's
No
probably why
access.
you were trying to siphon some from me in the dream.
So that's problem number one. You got to get to where you got to get to. So that's definitely the issue. But they're relatively close. It's not like states away. Now, if I was still in South Carolina, this might be a problem. I have to change my answer. But with this logic, I can get over there pretty easily, only a couple hours away. I would be able to hopefully have enough gas already in my car to get there. And then my dad and my family has land relatively close to our house that is very open, widespread. You can see things from coming from a long ways away generally. So I thought about that part too. So if there was any sort of danger, you could see people coming down the road. You could see things coming down the road. Be able to protect yourself and hopefully be able to stay safe and keep things at arm's length. And that was also another logic and thought process with this answer. So that's my answer. I had a follow up question, and I knew I was going to forget. I should have wrote it down, but I don't know. Is there any other like follow up thoughts with who you? Now that we've talked about it a little bit more, does anybody have a change to their answer? Or are you guys pretty all confident in your answers?
I feel like I'm pretty confident about that answer. The thing that is always kind of, while we're on the subject of apocalypses, the curiosity I've always had about when you look at like The Walking Dead or whatever, like in those early seasons when they're like trying to escape and they see like all the cars lined up on the road or whatever. My thought has always been like, how long would society how long do you guys think society would kind of sustain itself if there was a zombie outbreak?
So you're talking specifically zombie in this.
Well, yeah. I mean, like nuclear war would be slightly different. What other kind of apocalypses would we have? Like a reckoning from God above? I guess the zombie apocalypse. I take so much away from COVID about how I think people would react to a zombie apocalypse. I think you would just have people that be like, "No, it's all in their heads. I won't get." Just if I got bit by a zombie, it wouldn't turn me. I'm stronger than that.
Well, yeah, I mean, our society, we'd be seeing people posting TikToks with a zombie outside their window. I mean, it would just be so stupid
No,
right
the
away.
start. There's a difference though. The start of an apocalypse versus like now you're in the apocalypse. Like I feel like the start would just be so ridiculous and insane. Like you wouldn't. There would not even be a way to like really predict it outside of the fact, like you guys did say about the pandemic. Like we saw almost like a sliver of that with like the toilet paper or like some of those things where it was like people just panic bought stuff. And I think that would happen definitely. Like I said, with like potentially with gas, people want to probably go and buy all the gasoline so that they have a stockpile of stuff. And obviously, a lot of people, and by a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, but people that have already like stockpiled stuff. And I know obviously back in the day with the whole with the USSR and the Soviet Union and stuff, that people already had their bunkers ready to go. So like those people still exist in this world, are ready for those days to come. So I think there's a difference, like I said, between the start of it, where people are just going to be like, literally, like you said, Tibbs, posting like TikTok videos of a zombie outside their house. And then there's going to be other people that are like, I knew this was going to happen. I'm going to my bunker or going to my land or whatever. And that's those people are going to be the people that at least last longer. They might not last the whole thing, or they might not last for years and years, but they're at least going to survive probably that initial, if you want to call it a wave of an apocalypse.
So back in Y2K, which I don't know if anyone remembers that, but right before 2000, there was a big scare that we were maybe going to go into some sort of apocalypse or something.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like the computers weren't built to people that basically computers just needed an update.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like now where computers will just like automatically update all the time, because Wi-Fi and stuff wasn't so available.
Right.
So it seemed like a bigger deal at the time. Like now, the idea that Y2K as it was would, people would be like, "Are you insane? What? Just update your computer." But like
Right.
back
It's
then,
funny to think that they didn't even think of the logic of like how simple an update is, and now it's like we get update every other day on stuff, and no one even thinks twice about it. But back then, an update was like, well, what does that mean? Is that going to change everything? Are people not going to be able to communicate? And the thought process of not being able to communicate for even a day, people are like, that's going to like mess up the whole New York Stock Exchange, and money's going to freeze in your bank account, and all that kind of stuff was going to happen. And luckily it didn't, for some people, I guess. I think some people even prepared. I don't know, Joe, do you recall anybody
well, I got a story here I've been trying to get into for the past 2 minutes.
What? You want to talk about something?
No.
So when Y2K was about to hit, my stepdad goes out. And this is a very small town kind of guy, maybe a little bit like Trenton's dad, but not quite as apocalyptic aware. And when we were getting ready for Y2K and the big scare, he went out and he filled as much gas as he could, which isn't that much, and just put into the trunk of his car. And then he went to the grocery store and filled 2 grocery carts full of Busch Light. And his plan was that he was just going to snowmobile and drink Busch Light as long as he needed to if something did happen over
Not water,
Y2K.
but Busch
Makes
Light.
sense.
And I was like,
my
well, how long would that actually last you? Because, I mean, 2 carts full of beer, like if we're talking a real apocalypse here, like that wasn't an amazing plan.
no, that wasn't a good. I actually, I just remember my parents just bought a new computer. I think they kind of understood to some degree what it was. But who knows? I do remember getting a new computer like right around that Christmas
My
time
I feel like
of
even
'99.
it's funny though, like that was the logic then at that point. Like we were not even nearly as reliant on computers at that point as we are like now. Like if the entire internet just shut down for like, let's say in this example, like a week in 2022, that I think would actually have some like potential major issues in the world versus like at the Y2K level of things where it was like, oh, this might be a problem when we turn over, the new year. You know what I mean? I don't know. Things I think of. But that's all I have. I was trying to remember what my follow-up question was, and I still have not thought about it. I'm sure I'll remember it either when it makes no sense to talk about it again or right after we end. So that's the perfect time. But I know Tibbs potentially wants to talk about the next topic, which is about food.
Yeah, you want to jump into that? So this weekend was Trenton's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Trenton.
28 years young, basically 30 is what Carmen tells me every day.
Most of the day flopped, but we still had a great time with friends. We were
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
go we were gonna go mini golfing. It was a 4-hour wait at Can. It was a rainy day. Couldn't get in there. We did have some amazing Wii Sports that we got in there. And then we went to the
Shout out to
Nook.
Joe.
Shout out,
Yes,
Joe.
the Nook was really. Tibbs, go ahead and tell us what happened at the Nook.
So Nook, Trenton made a 7:30 reservation. We get there, place is swamped. Clearly, that this is not a place that was meant to handle 7 people group. We saw a lot of 2, 3 people groups, and we continued to watch. these 2 and 3 people groups get seated at tables, as they kept telling us that the 2 7 people tables were full, and there was one that was empty, but there was already someone who had reserved it apparently, blah yada. So it took us quite a long time to eat, but it was a great burger. We're not here to bash any small businesses. It was a great Juicy Lucy at the end of the day. But my question was not so much about that service and experience, but the build in of, good bar food. So I was wondering, and we had talked about this in our group chat, what is the best go to bar food? Only one that you can pick. So it could be appetizers or just Hedgie's Pizza, or you could even count burgers in there, I think, chicken strips, just good grub bar food that you can get pretty much any bar. What is the go to bar food, the best one? And then the second one to that, so we can talk about that one first, but then so we don't forget to follow up, the follow up is what's the best place that you've had all kinds of bar food? What's just the best place to get bar food? But we'll start with what's the best bar food to get?
That's a good one because like I think about and you talked about obviously the follow up is like where, because obviously you got to think about all these places and not just think about, oh, I had really good, insert thing here, but at this one place, but then maybe somewhere else it's always not so good. So you got to think like where is it kind of generally good, that one thing, whether it's chicken strips or a burger or whatever, but it's got to be kind of like the general everywhere you go. So like that's a
Yep.
good question because I might love the fried pickles at one place, but the other place it's not so good. So like I might not say fried pickles in that example. So, Joe, you got anything?
Well, as you guys, anyone who knows me knows I am a man who loves chicken wings.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that being said, I don't know that I would say that's the best bar food.
Now, are you
Wow.
talking boneless or bone in?
Now that is why. That right there is why. Because I prefer bone-in wings, and I don't think that they are great bar food when you're, a couple drinks deep and needing something to soak it up, because then you're just going to have buffalo sauce on your face the whole rest of the night. Who
It's
wants to
true.
have that? I think I'm sort of in a toss up here. I think you want to go the potato route, either French fries or tater tots. I think that is a um, good thing to order to kind of soak up if you've had a couple beers or a couple sodas with your friends. I think that a basket of fries or tater tots is the ideal um, bar food.
I think
I
that's a great call because
go
it's
ahead,
hard
Tim.
to mess up a French fry, right? Like, there's some average ones, but no matter what, and especially a couple beers or sodas deep, like French fries pretty much are gonna. It's hard to be displeased by them in pretty much any moment.
Yeah, I have to agree. The only reason I'm picking something else is just for the sake of being different. I don't want to say French fries as well, but I'm gonna go with. And there, I will preface with there are places that can potentially mess these up, but like I feel like the reward outweighs the risk of it being not so good, and I think that is cheese curds, and that is like fried, like
Ooh,
deep fried cheese curds. Like if you get some good cheese curds, like I said, you can get them, and sometimes they'll make them kind of messed up, and the cheese will ooze out the side, and you're eating just like the outside, and that's kind of the risk you're taking. But I feel like most of the time you're going to end up with some really good cheese curds, and you're not going to be disappointed. Now, it doesn't really solve the problem of that Joe brought up, where it's like if you just need something to like soak up some of your beer that you're drinking or your alcohol that you're drinking, because the potato is definitely the go-to for that, definitely. But when it comes to like just the goodness, I mean, I'm a Wisconsin boy through and through, and cheese is that number one thing, man. So that's probably where I'd go. And then you got to obviously have some sort of dip on the side, whether it's a ranch or a spicy
That
ranch.
was my follow-up question to the Kurds, because I will say, I know I'm on a call with two born and raised Wisconsinites here, so I know you guys do enjoy your cheese, and I do too. But what what is the ideal dip for cheese curds, in your opinion? I know Tibbs is not much of a dip guy, so he might
I'm not.
say nothing. But Trenton, what is your ideal
I
cheese
would
curd dip?
probably say some sort of like like slightly spicy ranch. Like I don't need like a crazy spicy thing, but I like almost like a chipotle ranch to go with it. You can kind of I think the default thing that most people get with it is ranch, but I'm kind of a I always like my stuff spiced or some sort of seasoning involved. So when it comes to having a little bit more oomph to the sauce, that's where the chipotle ranch kind of comes in perfectly for the cheese curds. And the thing of it is with that, you don't always get that with some of these places. Sometimes you don't get a chance to get like a spicy ranch, and you kind of just have to deal with the regular ranch. But like I said, I think it's still a win-win. And actually, for the most part, if you have a really good cheese curd, and Tibbs can obviously attest to this, you don't necessarily need sauce. I can definitely just pop one in without even having sauce with it, and it's still going to be just as good. But definitely that spicy ranch is going to just put it over the top for sure.
Yeah, we had the curds at the Nook, and I was just eating those. I was just eating those plain. Those were good.
Yeah, those are a little bit, not in a bad way, but I will say they were a little bit extra salty. I will say that.
As a Wisconsin purist, I just have had too many bad cheese curds of people trying to pretend that they're selling good cheese curds and they don't. So I
Mm-hmm.
just can't go with that answer because of how many places can mess them up. But I am sticking with cheese because I think it's much harder to mess up a mozzarella stick.
Ooh,
And to
I
me,
was
any bar across the country, you can probably find a mozzarella stick that's going to get the job done. I don't think you can say the same about a cheese curd.
Now, I was thinking of mozzarella sticks when that came up because when you have a mozzarella stick, usually you get a marinara for dipping
mm-hmm.
Right.
or something similar. How come you very rarely, if ever, see a marinara for cheese curds when it is kind of ostensibly the same thing?
I have seen marinara before, but you're right. It's sorry, I'm yawning over here. It's past my bedtime. It is much more rare for the cheese curd, and I have no idea why. I might have to look that up.
I mean, I think it might be a good idea, like you said, to just start, asking for some. Maybe they have some in the back. You can always ask for some here with the cheese curds. At least have the option. You have the marinara and the ranch or something like that. Because I think a lot of people also with cheese curd do ketchup, which is funny because you'll never. I don't think I've seen a person on this planet that's like asked for ketchup with their mozzarella stick.
No,
No, yeah, no, definitely not. Although, yeah, I've seen ketchup doesn't make as much sense to me. Have had cheese curds with like a chipotle ketchup or like a spicy ketchup where that adds a little more flavor, but just fried cheese and ketchup doesn't really do it for me.
Speaking of bar food and ketchup, though, I don't know why. I just have to throw this out there, but anybody who eats chicken strips with ketchup, they just need to be locked up and put away. Because that is, in my
Mm.
opinion, like a sin on this earth, no matter what your religion.
Joe's gonna lock me up for this, but I have to give a shout out to the most underrated bar food, which is the fried mushroom.
Not a fan.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to lock you up for it. I will just say more for you because uh, as I had heard someone say yesterday, and I thought it was genius. Of when asked whether or not they liked something, they said, "Not yet." So
Okay.
I do not yet like fried mushrooms, but maybe someday in the future that will change. You never know.
I sure hope so, because I've searched long and wide just for someone to share some fried mushrooms with.
Well, I do remember you sharing some fried mushrooms at Sporty's Pub and Grill with a stranger. So,
Well, I certainly invited myself to that, but I did share them.
Now, Tibbs, your follow up question was about where's your favorite bar food, and honestly, I'm like I've been trying to like think of this, and I guess I just haven't been to enough different places to like really nail down one. But do you guys have like a one place where it's like you go there, you make sure you get an appetizer, or you make sure you get some bar food off the menu?
Well, it's hard for me to look at our logo and not think about Sporties just because of how much money I've spent on bar food there. River Falls had a great bar food scene. 4 nights a week, you could get $1 to $2 burger nights, and the best one would have been Main Streeters, I think.
Oh
So
yes.
I do think heavily about the 250 burger deal there. The cheapest and best eats and drunk for a college student, I think, is River Falls, Wisconsin. Just great times, but it'd be hard for me not to give Sporties the crown.
Yeah, I think I have to. I think I have to anoint Sporties as well, just because of all the times we enjoyed their bar food late night there, or just whatever. A lot of my usual haunts that I've thought of over the years have been like the kind of bar where maybe they just have some peanuts out, or they'll throw Heggies in the or equivalent in the pizza oven for you. So I don't know if there's not many bars I've frequented besides Sporties that has good bar food.
You bring up a great point that I want to make sure we mention, and that is one of the greatest bar foods you can find anywhere is a Hedgie's pizza. And that is a big time Wisconsin staple, but we do know a place here right across from Sporty's that serves it up real fancy. But the
With
Hedgie's
that
pizza is just a great.
with that sprig of basil on there.
Yes.
Speaking of, did you hear the big controversy from them today?
No.
They suggested
Who's they?
the Hedgies pizza. I don't know how it's pronounced, Hedgies or Hedgies. I've heard it both ways. They suggested that people should cut the pizza before they heat it up.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Was there a reasoning behind this?
You know, if I had been more prepared for this segment, I might have actually read it instead of just the headline.
Well, here, let me look it up. You guys keep talking. Let's think if I can find it. Hedgie's pizza.
Yeah, you look that up. Is I think that is the best bar pizza. I mean, there's you know,
I take it over lots of matzo.
yeah,
Lots of
I
matzo too heavy.
yeah, lots of matzo, a great breakfast pizza. I will swear
Yeah.
by their breakfast pizza, but yeah, too much cheese.
The one thing about the Hedgies, I've tried to buy it just for myself, in my regular oven. It's got to be cooked in one of those industrial bar ovens.
Yeah, or the like um pizzazz pizza oven, maybe that might do the trick.
Yeah, and I've done that too, even. And there's just something about, and maybe it's just because of the setting you're in and you've had a couple brews, but it just never hits the same at home.
So here we go. I found out the logic behind it apparently is because it says pro tip, cut it before you bake it so that it gives
Cooks
your
more evenly.
even more crispy edges.
Oh,
Crispy edges. So you basically, if you
yeah.
cut it, you get more edges. So I guess if you're now me, when I'm a triangle pizza like ideal. I don't know what the phrase is, but like I always go triangles. I actually despise pizzas cut into squares. I don't know what it is.
So you
But
just like Minneapolis style pizza.
apparently that's the logic. Yeah. But yeah, that's apparently the reason. So if you're more of a inside slice person and you like the soft outsides, this is not what you should do. But if you like the edge pieces, like a lot of people like that little, when you cut it into squares, you get that little triangle piece on the
Right.
corner. If you are all about that slice, sounds like this should be the way that you should be cutting your pizza. And it also says, I mean, you could
Well,
do this with any pizza in theory.
yeah. Although here's my thought: you cut the pizza before you heat it up, but you cut it into squares. I am a man who heats that pizza up directly on the rack. That's not going to work if the
Same,
pizza's already cut.
No,
same.
It's
that
going to have to be on the. It's going to have to be on the sheet.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I don't think I like this.
you are gonna struggle.
Well, I think that's not okay. So yeah, when it comes down to the place, by the way, guys, I'm gonna have to go with Main Streeters. Tibbs brought it up, and it literally just brought back like instant nostalgia for going there, getting all those burgers, and their fries were magnificent. And this was like peak. Trenton eats all the food all the time. Like I was literally eating an insane amount of food at this time in my life, and I just remember going there for those like 250 burger nights, and I would literally order two burger and fries, and I'd eat the entire thing of both of them. And it was just an insane amount of food, but it was so good. And you guys talked about like having the peanuts or that other kind of options out there. And at Main Streeters, they would have the popcorn
Yep.
available. So while you were waiting for your burger,
Oh
and it was
man.
like super salty classic bar popcorn, and it was so good. You play a game of pool, and it was just like the perfect. You go there, you spend with a drink, you spent $9, and you got 2 or 3 drinks, and all of a sudden, you're full and you're ready to go home, and that was the perfect college night. You said what day of the week was it, Tibbs? I was
Tuesday.
Wednesday, Tuesday.
Yep.
Oh,
And
to have the metabolism of a 22-year-old college student again, huh?
Well, and that was when the metabolism started to slip. So all of a sudden, my shirts were a little tighter, and I was like, "Well, I don't care. This is dang good, and it's cheap."
exactly. And speaking of nostalgia, and then we can jump into Joe's topic here. But how could I forget when we're talking about bar food about River Falls staple Mavs wings?
Yes,
As someone who partook in the Mavs wings just once in my life, very, very good.
that's
Just
sauce.
incredible sauce.
That's it, and it's funny because you could, if it wasn't for the sauce, you wouldn't think about it. But it's like literally the sauce alone, which is pretty iconic to think about. Like, what place do you know that it doesn't actually matter the kind of food? It's like the side thing or the thing that comes with it that makes it so good. You know what I mean? Like, there's not really a lot of places like that.
No, not that I could think of offhand that I know of. I was gonna say as a follow up, just we could get our knee jerk reactions here and then just move on. But uh, in terms of going out food or late night buzzed food, fast food drive through, you're riding through. What fast food place do you want when you are in that state, getting a ride home?
Are we talking about intoxicated or sober?
No, you're getting a ride home because you're drunk.
Oh,
Where do you want to? Obviously, you're not driving through the drive-through drunk, man. Come on, you're getting a ride home, and your ride said, "Okay, we'll stop and get you something to sober up." Where do you want to stop? Just quick twitch.
10 out of 10. Sorry, Taco Bell. It's the perfect thing. It makes sense. The only downside is it's a little messy. So if you're at that point where you're like really gone, it's probably McDonald's. But
Yeah,
that's my answer.
my answer is McDonald's as well.
I gotta go Taco Bell.
Yes.
I'll get I'll eat a burrito or something so I don't spill all over.
All right, Joe, hit us with this topic.
All right, my last. I decided to do a quick shift here, and I see we're getting down to our last 15 minutes of podcast here, so we probably won't talk as long about it. But I did finally after a couple months take in Matt Reeves' The Batman, the
There we go.
2022 movie starring Robert Pattinson. I finally watched it on HBO Max yesterday. So I just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on it too, because we hadn't had a chance to talk about it together. I
Yeah,
would go
yeah.
ahead.
I was gonna say spoilers if anybody who hasn't seen it who doesn't want to definitely mute or skip this part. But I watched it also on HBO, and Tibbs, if recall, I don't recall. Did you see it in theaters or did you also watch it at home?
Nope, I saw it the first night in theaters.
Okay, because now I'm curious to see the logic in theater versus. I'm always intrigued because and I know I'm not necessarily talking about this exact movie at this point yet, but I always am intrigued because my friend in college, Travis from Seattle, as you guys know him as, he talks about how when you watch a movie in theaters, you always kind of have a higher, you know, like a better recollection, or like almost like you think of it as a better movie, as maybe differently as if you would have watched it at home. And I don't know if you guys think about that, but I definitely want to have that thought in the back of my mind as Tibbs is talking, maybe versus what me and Joe say when we watched it at home on HBO Max. But my logic with it, and I think this is kind of the public opinion in it for the most part, is that it's not the best Batman movie of all time, but it's definitely like easily top 5. What do you guys think about that?
I tried to go on it with a pretty open mind, and I left thinking that it well exceeded my expectations. I thought it was really well done movie. I was intrigued all the time. I thought the Riddler was a great villain in it, and I thought that Robert Pattinson actually blew me away as Batman without barely talking throughout the movie.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that um, it really took a different route to the plot than what you get out of a lot of modern um, superhero movies. You know, it wasn't like a big Marvel Cinematic Universe movie where the fate of the world was on the line. It was kind
Right.
of just like a crime procedural movie almost. It
Right.
was
It almost had like an episode type thought where it's like when you watched a Batman show as a kid, it was like there's a problem in the episode and they solve the problem and that's the end of the episode. I kind of felt like that was kind
Yep.
of how it was, but with like a movie instead of a show, obviously.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, there were. I mean, obviously there was some big budget and some effects and very cool costumes and everything. I guess I barely even said my opinion. I thought it was. I agree with Trent. I thought it was really well done. Um, I went in with having being someone who really loves Batman as a character and has seen all the Batman movies that have been released in my lifetime and likes to read Batman comics and stuff. Like I really enjoyed myself with it, and yeah, I was really impressed with Robert Pattinson um, and everybody in the movie. Really, Tibbs,
Now,
what was your experience with it? And
What one thing that I saw that I really agreed with was that Robert Pattinson's Batman was one of the best jobs of actually making it seem like Bruce Wayne and Robert Pattinson were, or sorry, Batman and Bruce Wayne were different. Where maybe it's more understandable why people wouldn't recognize Bruce Wayne when he's just walking around as a normal person. I thought that they did a better job of that than, let's say, during the Dark Knight series, where he just changed his voice a little bit. I thought they did a very good job of distinguishing Bruce Wayne versus Batman, where you could be like, oh, I can see why people don't know that he's Batman. Do you guys agree with that?
yeah, I would have to agree with that for sure. Definitely.
yeah, and he well, there was also the kind of the whole like he's a recluse thing, like
Mm-hmm.
when he's Batman, the playboy that goes out and is partying all the time.
Right.
It's like, well,
You could tell too because it was a different like storyline in the sense of like he was trying to figure out at this point like how he was still doing meaningful stuff as far as like
Right.
all like because they were like oh crime still hasn't really gone down and like people aren't afraid of Batman at this point like and he was still trying to like figure all that out, so I feel like that played a big part into it as well.
And I like that. I like that it was year 2 of Batman, so we didn't
Mhm.
have to relive really the parents' death,
Right.
even though they got a little bit into that story
yeah,
later.
I actually thought they kind of were wisely kind of got that in. Like he didn't skip it completely. It was still it was like everything was sort of established in this universe, but you didn't feel like you were like, oh, why is this? Like
Right.
everything was explained pretty well.
Now I will say I have one problem, and my problem is I didn't love the Batmobile that really wasn't the Batmobile. What do you guys think of the Batmobile that was basically, in my recollection, was basically just a car,
And I
like a
think
black car?
and I think part of that is because it was year 2 and he's still learning how to be Batman a little bit, kind of to Joe's point. So I think that he's still like learning how to make some of the equipment that we'll see later, and the Batmobile will be juiced up a little later on. Is that how you kind of took it, Joe?
Yeah, I didn't think about. Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, it didn't seem like the Batmobile, like the cool gadget thing. It just seemed like a very cool car, you know. Which I think because it was kind of more of a grounded take, and sort of was I wouldn't say super realistic, but it was more of a there was more realism to it. So I think that because of that, the kind of more plain car made more sense. I thought it was kind of funny that through a large part of the movie he was just like dinking around town on a like little moped motorcycle thing.
I do have a question for you guys that caused quite a bit of internet controversy and big time spoilers here. So last warning for that. But and it was the Joker cameo at the end there, which I thought they did a really good job introducing him with at the end of the movie. But some people say they're just so sick of that villain. There's so many Batman villains that they can play off within the sequels. They're over the Joker, but I thought it was really well done introduction.
No, I would agree that in the sense of I mean personally I'm kind of over the Joker stuff, but I also think it's because we haven't had a good one in it. Like if we would have a good Joker movie or experience, people would be like kind of fiending for more. But I feel like because we haven't had a good one in the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, I guess, if I'm remembering correctly.
Well,
Um,
I haven't seen the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. That got really good
That was a great movie
reviews.
too,
I
but
didn't see it.
that was more
So
like a prequel to the Joker. But
right, he wasn't being like the bad guy necessarily at that point. Like he still was, but like not in the sense of like it wasn't the Joker versus the Batman. It was just the Joker kind of on its
yeah.
own. So that's
Well,
why I really look
yeah,
at.
for the last like 5 years, we've had Jared Leto
Mhm.
being Jared Leto.
right,
So maybe that I would say a good Joker. I think a good Joker would be welcome, if for me, anyways.
Right.
Um, how about Colin Farrell as the Penguin? I
Yes.
didn't even know that's who that was.
I
The
literally
whole
just
Right.
movie.
looked up the name to remember because I was like, I literally, and I don't know if anybody else listening saw. If you haven't, definitely look this up because it's insane. There's like this like time lapse video of Colin Farrell getting into makeup to be the Penguin, and he's literally like unrecognizable from when you're watching the movie versus how he looks in real life, and it's just absolutely insane. Obviously, the technology and the ways that we can do stuff now, and how people can just change their appearance completely. He did a fantastic job. I think he's not quite iconic in the sense of that role as maybe like a Danny DeVito was, but I think he still did an absolutely phenomenal job as being the Penguin in this movie.
Yeah, I'm really curious the direction they're going to go now with some of the introductions we've had, and HBO's now making an Arkham series all about where we'll get to meet probably a lot of those other villains that maybe you don't see in the mainstream movies. So I'm pretty curious about what they're going to do over there in HBO.
Batman has so many random villains like um, Killer Croc and
Yep,
Clayface, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like
the
I've
Crow.
always like I've always thought um, I would love to see, like, you almost can't do like those type of characters in like a realistic scenario, but I would almost like to see someone try. I don't know. I think it would be very interesting.
I think that's what they're trying to do with this series, and they did a little bit with Gotham, which Nikki, who's listening, had me start watching, and is actually very entertaining watching. You meet a lot of those one-off characters, where it is kind of like Trenton said, more episodic, where you have a problem, you solve it that episode.
Right. Now in the Gotham show, that who is that more like origin stories of all of those characters, or is that more so like because there's no like Batman in that show, is there? Or there's no like hero in that show, correct?
He's
No,
he's Bruce Wayne.
Bruce
Uh,
Wayne is a kid, and it's about Jim Gordon, later Commissioner Gordon. It's
yep.
like Jim Gordon is a young detective or cop or something, and then yeah, like Riddler's in there. There's a Joker. There's a Penguin. There's
And the
everybody.
Penguin in that is amazing.
Yeah, I've seen. Isn't Pee Wee Herman the Penguin?
I'm not sure.
He's somebody.
Stumped on the spot, Joe.
Sorry.
But yeah, any last thoughts for the night or for the Batman topic?
No, I think yeah, we're reaching that hour point, so I think we're probably about wrapped up here. But no, I think I've said my piece on Batman.
Yeah, so he portrays, it says Elijah Van Dahl and Basil Carlo on Gotham is Paul Rubens, or
I
otherwise
don't.
as Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, I don't know who. I don't know what character that ends up being, but he is on there at least, so I knew that much.
Final thoughts, but yeah, no, I think this was a good episode, guys. Shout out to Austin. We'll definitely get his topic here one of these years whenever he shows up next.
Well,
Yeah,
But we're excited to keep this going, and hopefully anybody who listens either live or after the fact, definitely give us a follow here on Twitter. But you can also find us on YouTube as well. That's where our episodes will be uploaded after the fact. We'll share that on Twitter here, and you can also find it there. And I think if you guys have any suggestions, DM us, send us a reply on Twitter. or follow us on our personal accounts. I know that Joe actually wrote down a great note here talking about some of the side things that kind of some of us do. And, Joe writes for the world of professional wrestling at Good Morning Wrestling. And the Twitter account is at Good Wrestling AM on Twitter, or GMW or gmwrestling.substack.com, and the world at large on his blog, thejohansson.com. And then I do some stuff on YouTube. Definitely give me a subscribe or a like on a video if you ever stop by. We try to go live every week. It depends on what's going on in real life, but that's GG Gaming on YouTube. You can find me over there, or on Twitter at GG Gaming, or GG_gaming_101. Super simple for you guys. And then Tibbs, obviously, doing his life stuff if he wants to ever let you guys know. I didn't write anything down, but he works and does a lot of stuff in the social media world as well. So definitely give him a personal follow on his Twitter account as well, that you can find in our bio. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else from you guys?
Nope, great show, guys, and thanks for everyone who stopped by and listened live or is going to tune in after.
Yeah. Just last thing I'll say, we appreciate anybody listening live or checking it out afterward. We're gonna kind of try as a schedule to have a weekly episodes, but I don't think right away we're gonna make any commitments to a night of the week or whatever. We'll try to give people a warning or some heads up, but yeah, we'll try to do this weekly, either Sunday, Monday, whatever we can work it in, and we'll keep everybody posted. So follow us at Regulars Pod